Welcome back to the Hive Doctor, your beekeeping mentor. Today I'm going to be dealing with this swarm that moved into some of my empty equipment that I've stored on the side of my shed. I've got about 25, 30 deep hive bodies that I have had ready over winter time so that I can make splits this year. And I've got a stack of about 6 deep hive bodies that a swarm has moved into the top of. Today I'm going to show you how I'm going to deal with this so that you know how to do it yourself. And we're going to go over a lot of other characteristics of swarms so that you know a little bit more about them, which may help you be able to catch more swarms and know what to do with them once you do so that they don't fly away. So stick around. Okay, so this swarm moved in a little over a week ago. I like to give swarms about a week to establish themselves, give the queen time to lay, because if you try to relocate a swarm too soon, a lot of times they'll kind of spook them. They don't like the disturbance and they'll just take off and find a home somewhere else. Now in a swarm trap that's hanging up high, I would probably do something with that somewhere between day 5 and 7 of them moving in, because swarms come with their bellies full of nectar and they unload it fast and they can get heavy quickly, especially if you are at the beginning or during a nectar flow, which I'm at the beginning of right now. So I don't know how heavy this is going to be, but it's not a problem because it's at ground level. I'm not on a ladder. I can do anything here that I can do with a normal colony. But because there's a stack of 6 boxes here and it looks like the swarm has moved into the top 2, I'm going to be remanipulating things so that I can prepare them to be relocated in about another week from now to my nearby apiary. So with that in mind, I've got a bottom board right out in front that I'm going to be putting everything on. And when I'm finished, I'm going to pick that up and put it right back in place, but everything's going to be on a bottom board. And the reason for that is it helps me, and they're already oriented on this location. I'm not going to try to get them used to going right there. They would probably do it just fine, but it's not necessary, so I'm not going to do it. The first thing I want you to notice about the characteristics of a swarm is that they love moving into the top of something. They like being high up off the ground, it seems. That's why often we find them up in trees. So if you've got equipment, stack it high, and often if you don't drill holes in the front of your equipment like I do, you can actually leave the lid kind of up, prop it up with like a piece of wood or something so that rain doesn't get in, but bees can. They love to come in that way as well. So I'm just going to give a little bit of smoke in the entrances here that they're using. I can see them bringing in pollen. I feel that they're well established. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to remove the hive cover. I'm going to remove the top box and put that on my bottom board so I can start working it. Oh boy, that's a lot of bees. Nice. I have a feeling this was quite a large swarm. Looks like they moved into half the box. Their demeanor is quite calm. They're not coming at me at all. So I feel they've definitely got a queen and they feel established in this home. I'm going to bring you closer so that you can see what's going on in the box here. So as you can see, when I stacked this box, I left a huge gap here, and they've already started building in some cross comb. Burr comb is another word for it, filling in that gap. And they're on the the left 5 frames of this box. So that's 5 frames. I definitely am going to be condensing probably into that top box I took off. Let's go ahead and take the cover off this top box and see what we've got to deal with. All right, so a little bit of smoke. And they're definitely in here as well. Not as many that are in the second box. And that tells me that I'll likely be able to combine these 2 boxes and set a honey super on top of them and leave them just like that, so that a week from now, like I said, I can move them elsewhere. I'm going to give a quick once over for the queen on the underside of the lid, the hive cover. I don't see her. And now I'm going to work on removing the empty frames that they're not using out of this box. And this medium honey super frame is one of my Varroa control frames. I'll link a card to that video here on the screen so you can check that out after this video. But it's a way I remove a lot of mites physically from a hive all at once. There are bees on these outside frames I'm taking out, so I just want to make sure the queen is not one of those bees. This is a bare frame, a plastic frame. Normally I would take this out, but like I said, we're right at the beginning of a nectar flow, and this is the time they're gonna draw that out. So I'm gonna leave those in, depending on how many frames I need to take from this box, of course. And in fact, these bees right here are festooning, which is the word for when bees hold their hands together and start drawing out comb. There's no obvious comb on this frame yet, otherwise I would show you, but they're already getting to work. All right, these next 4 frames are definitely being worked. So I'm going to shake the bees off this one. Keep them in the box. Ugh. And what I want to do is find out where my brood is. And since it's only been a week, I'll probably just see eggs and larvae. And I want to put that right in the middle of the box. This frame feels heavy, so I anticipate they've been filling it with nectar a little bit. I'm going to move these frames to the outside here as I situate my colony. A little bit of nectar. There's no brood in this frame. I'm not seeing the queen, so I'm going to keep these frames right where they are on the outside. And now I've got a nice pocket in the middle to put what probably are my brood frames from there into here. You know, one of the interesting things about swarms is that, as you probably know, swarms happen when bees feel crowded, when you don't give them enough room or they outgrow the area that they're in. And so one of the times that you can expect swarms, especially in the springtime, is when you've had a lot of rain. And nothing will make bees feel more cramped than having to stay home on a rainy day. So the very next day after that rain is done and the day is clearing up, you can expect to see some swarms taken off from your colonies, or swarms taking off from another nearby beekeeper's colonies, and maybe even coming to your own apiary. Swarms are attracted to other bee yards. They smell it and they come looking. And in fact, well, let's hold that thought. Here's the queen right there. Let's zoom in on her. Oh yeah, she's tiger striped, dark and light. She is coming along on the bottom bar. Beautiful. And has she laid? She's definitely inspecting the cells. These bees are getting a little antsy about me being in their face, so they're getting in my face. I'm going to put the queen in here. I know where she is. She's safe now. And I've got 2 more frames to go, which is good because I've got space for 2 frames in my 10 frame box. And one of them is a Varroa control frame. So you see these bees hanging on the bottom of this frame. Those bees are festooning. They're drawing wax. And more specifically, they're going to fill in this area with drone comb, most likely, which is a perfect candidate for Varroa mites. And later I'll come along when that's full of it, and I'll scrape it, taking the Varroa mites with it. So I'm going to put that right here. And in fact, there are eggs in this frame, so I know that she's laying and that she's established. Now, one thing when it comes to swarms and frames, when they've drawn this drone comb, or not drone comb, burr comb, you do need to clean that up. Just do it as carefully as you can by loosening where the bees have attached it to the frame, and it should come right off. If you see eggs in it, don't worry about it. It's not enough to worry about, but by moving it, we do prevent any rolling of bees and killing them, especially if that's our queen. So putting in the last and final frame. And you know what? Now that I'm down here and I see this box is done, I've got another surprise. And that's the swarm is actually in this half of this box too. So they were in the top box, the middle box for sure, and they're in the third box. All right, so we've dealt with two boxes. Now we got to deal with this one. What I'll likely do is just pick this one up and leave it as the top box. I really doubt that they're all the way down in this one. So that characteristic about swarms I was about to tell you when we first saw the queen is that I've actually seen small swarms fly in an area near other bee yards. Yep, and there's hardly anything in here. So I'm gonna pop this off, make my stack a little bit shorter. And those small swarms will fly around these bee yards trying to gather numbers and increase their population from my colonies that are already there. And what will happen is those foragers will smell this queen's pheromones, and they will in fact gather together and join that swarm and making it bigger and bigger. And that swarm will take off because now they have a much more, they have a fighting chance of surviving. All right, so there's nothing in this box. So what I'm going to do is pick up the one I know the queen is in, move her over here, and now all these disoriented bees will start coming back in here. And I'm going to put this one back on top. And since the bees are still on these 5 frames, I'm going to manipulate things to where they're in the center of my colony. And I've got plenty of frames here to do it with. You know, when it comes to swarms and baiting, I've never baited a swarm trap, though I do plan on using some Swarm Commander. I'm an affiliate marketer for Blythewood Bee Company, and the owner of that company is the inventor of Swarm Commander, so I've got some of that coming, and I look forward to trying it. But if you find that you don't have any, you can either make your own homemade stuff or just understand the nature of swarms, moving into the top of old equipment. I've got all this comb in here, and it smells like bee stuff too, and bees are attracted to that. All right, with these bees more centered now, I'm going to take some of my more drawn frames that are ready for a queen to start laying in as soon as the bees clean it up, and fill in my holes here. And all these bees are backing up behind me because they're coming home and I'm in their way. Now, had the bees only been in one box, I would have liked to put a medium honey super on top, because I like to run 1.5 as my brood chambers, but that's not the case here, and that's okay. Either way, the bees will do what the bees do. All right, with that done, I'm going to move these off of my hive cover, and any bees that are left on these frames and in the boxes I removed will slowly realize they don't smell the queen's pheromone anymore. And they'll take off, they'll take flight from the boxes, from the frames, and begin looking for her where they know that she has been. And they'll return home. So I don't have to worry about shaking these boxes and frames or brushing them off. These bees will come home just fine. In fact, here's a bunch of bees still in this box on the side. There's some on the frame here. So what I'm going to do is carefully just put these frames back in here And since I don't have another hive cover right away, I'm going to lay this on end. None of the frames are going to fall out. And the bees are now disoriented. This isn't their home, and it's not at the right orientation. They're going to slowly leave this box and come home right here. And as you can tell, actually I'll show you real close. These bees are already fanning because there's a change that has occurred here, and they know it. They're fanning that Nasanov pheromone to say, hey girls, here's home. Come this way. There's a good example. They're fanning like crazy. All right, so now we've reduced that stack to a more manageable level for me. In case they do put a bunch of honey in it and it's super heavy, it's lower, but they can orient to this just fine. And I wouldn't want to move them right now because there's hundreds of foragers out getting pollen and nectar right now. And if I move this hive, those foragers would come home without a home to come home to, and I would miss out on that field force. So if I'm going to move this, which I will, I want to do it early in the morning when it's cool, before they start flying, or do it after dark when all of them have come home. And that way I can take as many of the bees as I can to their new location. So cool, there you have it. We went from a situation where a swarm had moved in the half of the top 3 boxes. We've condensed most of it down into one and then part of another. Now they're in a situation that works for me and it works for them too. They still have room to grow, and we're right on the verge of this nectar flow, so they got plenty of resources coming in, and I can't wait to see how well they do this season. If you have learned any characteristics of swarms in particular that you know that I haven't said here today, put them in the comments below and let me know what you think, what your experiences are. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to drop me one of these. Tell your friends about the Hive Doctor, and I'll see you in the next video.